It's 7:32 Central African Time. Hello, Sonny Bonani! It's a Tuesday evening, which could only mean one thing. It's Breakaway League Racing, the top tier thereof. Q1, these drivers will have 18 minutes to stake their claim to try to go fastest and indeed secure their slot in Q2 and thereafter Q3. Well, it is race 7. Welcome to the Marina Bay Street Circuit. My name is Bob O'Connor. Hey, yes, Bertats is also here. Man Raymond is in the comment section. It's good to see you as always. Man Ray, of course, who had his own interesting race last night as part of our Tier 2 contingent. Well, he's here to keep an eye on the prospective competition. You never know. Man Ray may yet find himself back in the top tier next season. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. It's only race number 7 of 16. So a lot is still at stake. I'm taking a glance up and down the grid. I do not see a certain brown boy who has yet to start a feature race this season. He did pop in, I believe, in Austria, but network issues and other matters sort of prevented him from properly taking part. It looks like a Haas is already out on track, and that will be none other than this man, Tapiso, who goes straight into the wall at that initial couple of turns. At turn on the exit of turn 3, Tapiso just sent it straight into the wall there. So yeah, shaky to say the least by the man who knows what needs to be done out here as far as racking up points are concerned. Kid K is in the comment section. It's good to see you. Man Ray as well. Let's go tier 1, boy, says Kid K. Simple will not miss races anymore. Django will win the title. Absolutely. Seaclay and Django is one of the stories to watch. Of course, Django, the rookie Mercedes driver, partnered with the 3-time champion Seaclay, is really giving the champion a run for his money. But Seaclay being Seaclay, he is still top of the pops. Seaclay, 108 points. He's at the top of the standings. And his teammate Django just 2 points behind, 106. Then there's a little bit of a chasm. Caboza currently third in the championship with 62 points. And his teammate Mex currently fourth with 50 points. So it's Mercedes and McLaren pretty much leading the charge as far as these championship points are concerned. Well, we're watching Tapiso. He's currently sitting slap bang in the middle of the standings. Well, P11, if you will, for Team Haas. He has 14 points, and he dropped one spot. He was 10th before the race in Austria last time out. Remember, it was a sprint and main feature race. So let's see how Tapiso will do this time. He's coming all the way back into the pit lane. Perhaps he took too much damage when he had that spin that we saw a little bit earlier. Seaclay, the champion who I have mentioned, is leading proceedings, is leading points, takes a very, very wide line into turn 1 so that he carries as much speed as possible and does not make too many adjustments to his steering wheel. The initial couple of turns clean for the champion. Turn 3, turn 4 without incident. Now into 5 and onto the short DRS straight, the initial DRS straight, if you will. There's a slight bend which constitutes turn 6, and Seaclay will absolutely send it at top speed of about 298 before he hits the left-handing turn 7. Here he comes now, a quick rush towards turn 8. It is a purple first sector, of course. Seaclay will be the first person to say representative time. It's a short little dash to turn 9, left-hander, sector 2. Seaclay, here we go towards turn number 10. His sector 2 split is one that we should watch closely. Medium compound tires, but of course he will be the first to set that initial benchmark. Here he comes into the slow left hand, that being turn 13, and he will absolutely punch it down towards 14, where the sector 2 split is a 105.718. Bear that in mind for the rest of the pack, which aims to match the 3-time champion Seaclay. Now into the tight, twisty, challenging Sector 3 is now on his way to the left hand, which is turn 18. Under the grandstand he goes. 19 is a right-hander. Turn 20 is also a right-hander. Once again, into the left-hander. They're going to have to make way. Traffic, a little bit of traffic that was Tapiso on an outlap, but Cicle hopefully did not lose too much. It's the final couple of turns now. It's turn 23, and he crosses the line. 139.635 is your benchmark, courtesy of the champion, that being Cicle. Mandla is currently on an outlap, so instead we will catch up with a driver that is on the verge of finishing his lap. His Sector 2 split King Rapture was a 106, so not quite as quick as the champion, but His Royal Highness, the King Rapture, is here to stake his claim on some possible new territory. Can he do it? Will he do it? Well, it's Sector 3, a little bit hard into the curve there in that final section. He lifts off the throttle coming into the penultimate corner and points it straight down across the line. 140.414 is good enough for P2. There's an Aston Martin on the brink. Might yet be Brakeaway on an outlap. No, it was Zotal, I beg your pardon, for Team Alpine, also into the 139s. But he's off Cicle's best. He's only P2. Donovan Laka has just crossed the line. 140.7 for him. Medium tire compound as well. S. Buddha with a slow-moving lap, relatively. He has gone P5. I would imagine that it was not a representative proper push lap from S. Buddha. Why waste your medium compound tires? Asks Don Rabico. Here comes next for Team McLaren, 140.321, also on those mediums. And Tabo T92 for Team Red Bull has also staked his claim in the early parts of this session over here. Let's get back on board with Tapiso, who knows what he needs to do here. Try to secure as much speed as possible. Was nowhere near as wide as the champion into turn 1. But let's see how much speed he manages to carry throughout his lap over here. As you can see on your track map at the bottom right of your screen, a lot of traffic out on track. But Tapiso's keeping it clean, keeping it tight, keeping it together. The first DRS straight for the Haas driver in Sector 1. Here he comes now towards the left-hander. His Sector 1 split is something that I didn't quite catch, so we're going to be watching him closely to see if he matches Cicle's Sector 2 split, which was in the 105s. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, Tapiso needs to navigate the rest of this sector cleanly without incident. Right-hander doesn't quite touch the apex there, and he's going to look to really minimize all of these slight twitches. No issues, no mistakes for Tapiso. As things stand, his Sector 2 split is a 106.410. So, as it stands, he's not going to be challenging the top runners. But let's see how he fares now into the final sector of this track. Twisty, tight, technical. Towards the small bridge under the grandstand comes Tapiso. That is turn 18 into 19 without incident. 20, 21 touches the curve for 20. 21 is also a little bit of the curve, but it's clean. Down towards 22, penultimate corner, and 23, the final corner. Here comes Tapiso on his initial push lap across the line. Soft tires, 140.993. It's P6 for the Haas driver. Django was out on track. Kapoza is out on track as well. In fact, Kapoza just crossed the line. P7, 141.529 for him. Django, the would-be challenger to the throne, to Cicle's crown. What can he do? Let's hop on board with the Mercedes driver. His Sector 2 split will be telling 106.059. Not quite as quick as Cicle as things currently stand. But word around the paddock is that in time trials and in simulations, Django was lapping in the 1 minute 36s, I believe. According to rumor, that would be spectacular and sensational if you could get anywhere near that. Of course, we saw what the likes of Don Rabico did last night, lighting it up. Don Rabico and Django are compadres, compatriots. Well, you could call them, I suppose, teammates in spirit. But here comes Django to set his initial banker lap. Ooh, look at that. 139.677. So sectors 2 and 3 were absolutely scorching for Django, who was some way off compared to Cicle as far as his Sector 2 split was concerned. So that is a fantastic effort by the would-be challenger. P2 as things currently stand. What about Enebo for Team Alpine? Let's see how he will fare. He is now in that grandstand area. Turns 19 and 20 and 21 for Enebo. Django can hit 36 seconds in Q3, so reckons Don Radico. We shall see, and Neville is here to lay down his marker, P10, 143.066, as things currently stand. Mandla Romeo, the man who last season vowed never again to be mired in a playoff battle at the end of the season. What can he do here on his initial run? Mandla for Team Alfa Romeo is currently 18th in the championship standings. He has just 3 championship points. He had, of course, he had 2 points in Azerbaijan and Baku in the first race, and struggled to gain some results in the intervening races. And in Austria, he picked up just the solitary point. So a lot of work for Mandla to do. P18 has got his work cut out for him as far as the championship battle is concerned. Ngawako, aka D-Wax, has already set his banker lap, 141.8, good enough for P9 as things stand. And Neville, we just saw come across the line, has been nudged down to P11 as things stand. Seaclay and Django have set the early pace out here in Q1. It's looking like a nice, fairly full grid out here, and we do hope that as the clock ticks on to 8 p.m., we would see just a sprinkling of a couple more drivers to make things even more interesting as this qualifying session goes on along. Right, Ban Kobe, Loveness are still under pressure to set their times and show us what they're made of. And Nebo, meanwhile, for Team Alpine, currently in 17th place in the driver standings. He has 6 championship points. How's that possible then? 6 championship points. So, 6 championship points. So he's ahead of Mandla. And his teammate for Team Alpine is Zotal, who has 25 points for that constructors team. And Nebo is going to be looking to pick up as many points as consistently as he can. He finished 8th in the feature race in Austria last time out. He crossed the line P9 in France. And back in Monza in Italy, he could only manage P13. So points are at a premium, of course, in this top tier. So looking forward to see what Nebo can do here. If you've just joined us, we have just about 5 minutes, 45 seconds to go in this first qualifying session. The aim of the game is to set as fast a lap as possible to secure your spot in Q2. Only 15 drivers can take part in Q2. So as you can see on your screen right now, the aim of the game to secure your spot in Q2 is just do not crash your car out and just set that banker lap, and then, we will watch with anticipation as the pressure just ratchets up a little bit. Esbuda for Team Alpha Tauri. What can he do? His sole points finish was all the way back in Baku in Azerbaijan. Crossed the line P6 there. What can he do now? That P6 finish has been fairly handy for Esbuda for his championship hopes. It sees him, of course, in P15 in the driver's standings. Let's see now how he will fare. The quickest time that he's managed so far, or rather the only time he's managed, is at 151.693. So definitely has his work cut out for him. Van Kobe behind him, meanwhile, has come back into the pits. So possibly Van Kobe might have had an issue, might have damaged his wing, or perhaps Van Kobe is just not happy with how the car feels, and he's hoping that the engineers can make some final touches to his setup. It is, of course, a very technically demanding track, as Esbuda has a Sector 1 split of 28 seconds flat, so we'll see how he fares. A little bit hesitant there into that right-hander was Esbuda. Yellow flags all around him, but he's just keeping a close eye just to make sure that he's not going to be too bothered by any significant traffic over here. Here he comes now in his rush towards the very slow turn 13, and this is the DRS zone, of course, down towards the slow turn 14. He's improving by about 2/10 as a Sector 2 split. Esbuda is in the 1 minute and 7 seconds as things currently stand. So his third and final sector is going to have to be absolutely clean. Rides the curb a little bit there through turn 16. 17 was fairly clean. 18 down underneath the grandstand. into 19, a little bit wide of the apex there. A little bit of hesitation as this Buddha is also trying, of course, to manage his battery use and output, which is down to about 30% as things stand. Through turn 23 and across the line comes S. Buddha, improves significantly, but only good enough for P12 as things stand. For Team AlphaTauri, his teammate Ngawako, aka D-Wax, currently all the way up in P6 as things stand. Loveness is on his out lap, and with less than 3 minutes to go, well, he's going to have his work cut out to make sure that he secures that P2 spot. Seaclay is happy to retire his car in the pits, and I won't be surprised to see a lot of drivers follow suit there, as we're now on board through Sector 3 with Tabo T92 for Team Red Bull. His new teammate, of course, being Fensei, who showed his quality on his debut race, did Fensei. Hopefully we can see Fensei as the race starts in earnest, and after 8 o'clock. The Tabo T92 is going to have his work cut out for him. Looks like, as things stand, he's just pushing these medium tires as much as he can. Perhaps just to get a proper feel for this here track. So as he comes back into the pits, we will catch up with Tapiso's teammate, Loveness, through Sector 1. On that initial DRS straight. Left-hander, turn 7, turn 8, without incident. Let's see now how he manages to maintain his composure and keep his speed throughout the rest of his initial banker lap. Tapiso for Team Haas. Sector 2 split of a 106.554 is a fairly decent effort. Might even be challenging the likes of Mex and King Rapture at this rate if his Sector 3 can be tight and clean. Tapiso into away team 19 without incident. Let's see, of course, how he rides these curves, which can be treacherous. But not for the Haas driver, who was now making his way towards the final corner, and he sends it straight into the wall. Oh, too much on the throttle through the final corners. Thankfully, he didn't crash out completely. He will just be happy to cross the line, set his banker lap, and guarantee his spot in Q3, or rather in Q2. Ban Kobe's Sector 2 split was in the 1 minute and 7 seconds. So, how will he carry it now in the third and final sector? Tight, twisty, challenging. You have to nail those apexes wide. Is Ban Kobe there through that right-hander? Thankfully for him, his heart would have been in his mouth. He did not invalidate. It's a last chance saloon for Ban Kobe, who's one of the only people out on track. He secures his Q2 spot with a 142.368. So definitely not looking very comfortable is Ban Kobe. It was a soft tire compound run. Could only manage P13 on those softs. You would, of course, remember that the majority of these drivers opted to use those medium compound tires. And the man who has the initial advantage as things currently stand is Seaclay. No surprise there. He's 7/10 quicker than his teammate. And Zotal in P3 about a second behind the leader. King Rapture went 4th quickest in Q1. Mex 5th. Ngawako D-Wax P6. Don 7th from Tapiso. And then Kaboza, Tabo T92. Mandla is 11th. S. Buddha 12th. Ban Kobe and Inebo P13 and 14 respectively. Look at that. Ban Kobe using 3 sets of tires in this Q1 run. So quite bizarre there. Challenges for the Aston Martin driver, who used 1 set of mediums and 2 sets of soft compound tires. Catching up with the comments before we move on along to Q2. Let's go Red Bull, says Offense in the comment section. Always great hearing Tyson. Thank you for the good remarks. Now when I hear it means I'm missing a race. Offense, we would love to see you. We would love to see you. 15 drivers, he says. Valentine's Dololo.
angithi legwababa man thina sidla igwababa abantu babhizi ngama-romantic dinner thina sizosutha legwababa yangithola sizoyenza kanjani man tekisi I mean offense awusixolele la.
Yes, G-Web apparently reigns supreme in the breakaway ranks, according to Bratox out here. Man Ray says Django hit 136.8. So says Man Ray, according to the kind of times that Django was putting out in these simulations for this race. What are the times there by esports, I wonder, asks Offense in the comment section. My, oh my, if you've just joined us, we have our Q2, and now is when things just get a touch more serious, because 5 of these guys will be getting knocked out. If everybody keeps it clean and keeps their cars intact. The aim of the game, remember, is to set as fast a lap as possible, and only the top 10 will go through to Q3, that being the final of these qualifying sessions and the battle to see who can go fastest overall and secure pole position. Qualify as high as you possibly can to give yourself that advantage by the time the lights go out and the race begins in earnest. This is Caboza for Team McLaren, having a very, very, very good season. Is Caboza giving the Mercedes drivers a lot to think about. He's currently P3 in the driver standings, is Caboza, and as a result of his good efforts and his teammate Mex, they are currently second in the Constructors' Championship. Remember, in Formula One, you have the drivers' standings. Those are the individual points for drivers, and those points are then collated or collected or added to then constitute the Constructors' Championship. And for this man, Caboza, and his teammate Mex, who you can just see above him on the left hand of your indicator, of your timing tower, these two collectively have racked up 112 points, and they are currently second in the Constructors' Championship standings. Mercedes, no surprise there, 214 points, are leading the standings. Alpha Tauri, that being Esbuda and Egawako Dwax, are currently third in the Constructors' standings. Let's hop on board now with Caboza to see how it feels like from his perspective. 12 and a half minutes of this Q2 to go. Caboza will be the first to lay down that early marker, coming through those initial corners without too much hassle. Here he comes now in towards turn 5, rides the curve a little bit, and he will open up that rear wing to get a couple extra kilometers per hour. That being the drag reduction system, DRS. Left-hander, that is turn 7. Caboza takes it without incident. His sector 1 split, not looking too shabby at all. We will watch his splits very, very closely to see how he carries it and keeps it together. Watch his racing line and how much speed he carries into the corners and how tight or not he comes into the apex. Very, very meaty as far as his corner entry onto that left-hander was. Into the slow corner down towards the short straight. It's Caboza towards the end of his second sector, splits sector 2 with a 105.560. Things are getting very, very serious for Caboza here, committed a proper push on his initial proper push lap on soft compound tires. Now, he's going to take this left-hander under the grandstand. Turn 18 it is. It's a clean entry and exit. 19, similarly so. Wasn't so tight on the apex. 20 is good. 21 is wide of that curve. He knows, of course, how perilous it can be if he gets that entry wrong. Final corners for Caboza, Team McLaren, and the first to cross the line, it's going to be 39.534, which is your benchmark for Q2 as things currently stand. Now, it looks like there's an Aston Martin on the verge of following Caboza. It's Ban Kobe, 140.728. Zotal responds with a 140.499. Mercedes of Seaclay crosses the line with a 37.920 as Seaclay, for the first time today, gives us a taste of what it looks like, what it feels like when the champion puts the pedal to the metal. There's a Haas on the brink of crossing the line. Is it Tapiso? Is it Loveness? Well, it could be Tapiso, but he's on his initial push lap. Mandla has crossed the line, 141.5. He gets nudged down by Esbuda, who has just set a 40.6 to go P5. I would have you know that Mex has also set these timing towers, absolutely alight. 38.8 is good enough for P2 for Cabose's teammate. Looking very, very comfortable, and we will watch him closely as the session goes on. Tambo T92 has just crossed the line for P4. He pips ahead of Zotile with that 39.986. So, yeah, 4 drivers setting times in the 139s or quicker. Things are looking very, very good, very tasty indeed. And Nebo has also crossed the line, 141.7, sees him provisionally in P9. It looks like one of the next drivers to cross the line could be none other than King Rapture, but ahead of him is Django. No, Django is a little bit further behind, so we're going to catch up with him a little bit later. Here comes King Rapture. Now it's Sector 2, and there will be a couple more drivers across the line before King Rapture will catch up with them. Let's see now how he fares through the final sector. A little bit of traffic to navigate. They make way. They're coming back into the pits. Are the cars on their in laps? So the King Rapture will cross the line. 39.2. It's P3. As it currently stands. And Goako D-Wax is on the verge of beginning his hot lap attempt. So as he's doing that, we'll catch up with the pretender to the throne, who had a Sector 1 split in the 27.3 seconds. I do wonder how Sectors 2 and 3 will look for that man, Smirch Django. Now, into the right-hander, that being turn 16, and now it's 18. Clean, 19 clean, touches the apex of that corner a little bit. Same with 20, but he's careful not to go too heavy on turn 21. How much speed does he carry now through the final corner? He lifts off the throttle, gear 6 into the penultimate corner, and he absolutely punches it to cross the line with a 37.953. The top 2 drivers, that being Team Mercedes, separated by a couple of hundredths of a second. It is absolutely tight at the top of the standings over here. And Goako D-Wax had a Sector 1 split of a 27.3, I believe, on board now with the AlphaTauri driver, who was looking quite comfortable in Q1. Takes the right-hander without incident over here. He's now navigating his final sector. If Goako turn 16 is clean, 17 was also along those lines. Just kisses the apex into 18. 19 is also fairly clean for Goako, aka D-Wax. He's got 7 minutes to stake as best a claim as he possibly can in these Q2 sweepstakes. It's Goako across the line. 39.909 is P6 for the AlphaTauri driver, who is, well, by the evidence, all things considered, looking very, very comfortable out here in Singapore. Donathan Laka had a Sector 1 split of a 27.4. So as things stand, it is very, very competitive. He was quite late into the brakes a couple of corners ago, so that might have compromised him by a couple of tenths. Let's see now how the rest of his Sector 2 goes. Remember, his Sector 2 split is coming up on this year's straight just before the braking zone, and he will set a 105.687 is very, very competitive as things currently stand. Jonathan Laka, Team Ferrari, whose teammate Brown Boy has been nowhere to be seen this season. Brown Boy, will you be racing, or will you miss that requisite 8 races to then render your race seat relinquished or indeed ineligible? Would be so good to see Brown Boy racing alongside his teammate Don Laka. But it's all about Don Laka now, who has a little bit of a moment with the wall there on those penultimate couple of corners, and he will come across the line. P6, 139.609 for the Ferrari driver. Well, things are really, really heating up here as Q2 trickles down towards a close. Loveness's Sector 2 split is in the 107 as he now makes his way out of turn 14 and 15. That was 16 and 17 into the grandstands for Team Haas. Loveness, of course, is currently P14 in the driver's standings, has racked up 11 championship points, kisses the wall slightly, and this is the corner where he lost it at the end of Q1, but he keeps it together, crosses the line. P13 will not be good enough. Remember, only 10 drivers go through, so as things stand, Mandla and Neville, Loveness, Bankobi, Buddha will be getting knocked out, and this man, Zotal, knows that his 140.499 is not good enough to secure his spot into Q3. It's not going to be good enough if any of the drivers below him, of course, go quicker than things currently stand. So let's see what his Sector 1 split will look like as Zotal looks to keep it clean, tight, and steady. He has improved by 2.5 tenths. 27.614 is his split at the end of Sector 1. Zotal for Team Alpine, with 4.5 minutes of this session to go, is absolutely sending it. And his lines are clean here, trying not to make so many mistakes. Don braked very late into this particular corner, but Zotal had it steady. Gear 4, up to 5. Will he go? No, it's all the way down to Gear 3. Down into this DRS stretch of the track, and he punches it towards turn 14. The Haas makes way for him, and a little bit tight onto that apex there, and he runs into a little bit of traffic with 3 minutes 45 seconds to go. The Haas better make way. Zotal is pushing as hard as he can. Move out of the way if you're not pushing for Tapiso or Loveness, depending on who it is. I do hope Zotal's not having to compromise himself here. Oh, yes, the Haas finally makes way. But how much will that have compromised Zotal here? He's still pushing. He's still sending it. Or is he? No. He had to back out of that because of the traffic that he ran into. That means he's only got 3 odd minutes to stake his claim on a last chance saloon and a final push for his own efforts here. Mandla on his final push has improved by about 1.2 seconds, but will it be enough when he crosses the line here? He was very, very heavy across the curve there. Did not invalidate. He improved significantly by almost by 1.7 seconds, and it's P7, and Mandla could breathe a sigh of relief, but I do wonder if all of these drivers that still have to run could pip Mandla and knock him down a peg or two. Everybody in the top 9 has breached that 1 minute 39 seconds barrier, so it is tight. It is treacherous. It is absolutely tightrope that all these drivers are walking here. What can Tapiso do behind his teammate? I do wonder if they're playing the team game and trying to give each other a little bit of a tow. Loveness, of course, is ahead of Tapiso, but as things stood at the end of Sector 1, according to that timing tower, Tapiso wasn't quite improving at the end of his first sector. Let's see what his Sector 2 split will look like, as Caboza is happy to retire in the pits. And here comes Tapiso now. Sector 2 split is a 108.4, and no, he's going 2 seconds slower. So currently P10, it doesn't look like he's going to be improving. Loveness, meanwhile, is definitely improving, as Don has opted to retire in provisional P6 as far as the end of Q2 is concerned. Here comes Loveness now underneath the grandstand with less than 2 minutes of the session to go. What can he do? Oh, it's treacherous. His corner exit was absolutely compromised there. That might cost him crucial tenths before the final corners, and he gives it up. Loveness is going to be starting from P14 minimum, unless Inlebo can have something to say towards the end of this session here. What about Tabo T92? He's on the verge. No, he had invalidated, so it's not looking good for him. Behind him is that Inlebo or Zotal, who's on the verge. Zotal's trying to give it a final push on his outlap. And Level is going to be next across the line with just over a minute of this Q2 session to go. Can he secure his spot? Last chance saloon for Level. Crosses the line. No, he improves, but it's not good enough. 141.455 is the best that he could do, but Enlevo has been knocked out. Who else will be confirmed as out of this session? Bankobi is giving it a final push, a proper go. Can he put it together towards the final corner for Team Aston Martin? The answer is a resounding no, because he's coming all the way back into the pit lane. Bankobi will start P13 unless and Nebo can have a final say here, because he's going to be one of the last drivers across the line. One of the AlphaTauris is on the brink, and it looks like Buddha is abandoning his attempt. He will not be going through to Q3 as things currently stand then. Well, a lot of drivers just simply throwing in the towel, might have made some mistakes did Esbuda, but what about Zotal? He's still out on track. Is he still eligible? The answer is yes. And Zotal is actually on the verge of beginning his what could be his final push lap. And Gawako D-Wax is going to cross the line. We're going to just watch the drivers who are on the verge of crossing the line before going over to the likes of Tabo T92 and Zotal, who of course are on their push laps. Tabo T92 is currently in P9. He is at risk of getting knocked down by the drivers who are currently giving it a final push. So it's the last chance for Saloon. Last chance saloon for Tabo T92 here, as the checkered flag is waving now. You cannot begin a fresh, hot lap attempt. How will Tabo T92 go through the final corner? He pushes and he sends it, and P5, he can breathe a sigh of relief towards the end of proceedings here. Zotal's a little bit further behind, and Neville was bottom, and he has pretty much given it up. So let's hop on board now with Zotal, who as things stand is knocked out. He needs to have an inch perfect final push lap here, and he had slapped on a fresh set of soft compound tires. So it's again last chance saloon for the Alpine driver. 6/10 improvement for Zotal is well, by some margin, definitely enough to keep him safe if he can keep the 6/10 advantage all the way through the final sector and indeed across the line. It has to be perfect from here on out. Zotal, they have mocked him mercilessly in the comment section, calling him Zospinzo and all sorts of names, but he takes it on the chin and he responds on track as you would expect a top-tier driver to do. Here comes Zotal across the final couple of corners. He sends it, punches it, and crosses the line. P9 by the skin of his teeth. Zotal is through to Q3, and it looks like Ngawako, aka D-Wax, might have crashed out on track, because I saw a yellow flag, and it didn't look like Ngawako D-Wax made it back into the pits. So D-Wax crashing out may yet see Tepiso going through to Q3 by the skin of his teeth. Wouldn't that be a sprinkling of drama here? Man, oh man, oh man. Zotal managed to cross the line P9 with an incident-free final push lap. Yep, and Ngawako seems to have crashed out there, and he will not be joining us in Q3. But look at that, 37.918 is the benchmark set by C-Clay. Django went second quickest, then Mex for Team McLaren just behind the Mercedes duo. His Royal Highness, the King Rapture, P4, Tabo T92 just behind him. Caboza went sixth quickest, Donathan Laka, P7, Romeo Mandla is through to Q3, P8 for him, and Zotal at the death at the end of Q2 secured his spot in that final quali session. Zotal using 3 sets of tires in this Q2. Man, oh man, oh man. Let's catch up back with the comments. Kid K says we shall see about that 136. Boys on soft, let us go. Well, you've seen what C-Clay can do. It's going to be a 9-driver shootout, the battle for pole position. They got to go as quick as they can. And, of course, the best time, the quickest time, qualifies, of course, in pole position, that being P1. And then the second quickest time is P2, and so on and so forth. They will have 12 minutes to stake their claim in this third and final qualifying session. And, as is usually the case, one of the Mercedes drivers is not wasting any time. And it looks like one of the McLarens will be doing exactly that. So not wasting any time, just bringing it out on track immediately. And we will have 12 minutes of this qualifying session before we see what these drivers are made of here. Caboza seemingly is happy just to lay low and give the champion a little bit of breathing room and let C-Clay push right on along. If you've just joined us, you're just in time for the top 10 shootout. Looks like Smirch Django is the one weaving to the left and right, trying to get a little bit of a temperature into those tires. Of course, if you get them into the optimum temperature and get just that sweet spot as far as tire heat is concerned, then that impacts the level of grip that the tires have. And this being the soft compound tires, it means it being soft, the tire compound does degrade the fastest out of all the tire compounds, but it is, of course, the quickest tire compound by virtue of being the grippiest tire. Well, 10 or so minutes of this session to go. Even Donovan Laka is not wasting any time. He's out here on track. His Royal Highness King Rapture will also look to make his mark on proceedings out here. But of course, the man who will set that early marker, that early benchmark, will be the champion, Seaflay. And we will watch with great anticipation to see what the champion can do. On board now with the gold standard of the top tier of Breakaway League Racing, Seaflay Langa, with 9.5 minutes of this quality session to go, wide once again into that entry into turn one. Ooh, that exit out of that initial corner had a little bit of a tweak there. So this might not yet be an indicator of his absolute best. So we'll see how he fares now on his push lap. But his Sector 1 split is a 27.057. Gear 4 through the left-hander, up to 5th, back down to 3rd through the right. And he just manages his throttle inputs there. It was Gear 4. He carries so much speed down to Gear 3 through this left-hander. Right hand is down to Gear 4, 5, and he will take it all the way down to Gear 2 into this left-hander. Opening up that rear wing is the champion down towards turn number 14. 104.386 is his split at the end of Sector 2. That is by some margin the quickest Sector 2 split that we have seen here today. So we've already seen Seaflay in the 37.9s in Q2. Could this be an emphatic break into the 36s in Q3? Well, time will tell. 8 minutes we have in this session to go to see what Seaflay can do. He absolutely sends it through the final corners. Look how much speed he carries. Gear 6 through the penultimate corner. He opens up the rear wing. It's a 37.2. What about Django? The final corner. Will he match that or better that? The answer is no. 38.0 is the best that Django can do on his initial push lap. So that is the marker. The champion setting a blistering 37.2. King Rapture on the verge of crossing the line here. 38.8 is only good enough for P3. One of the McLarens has had an issue. Was it Mex who brought out that little bit of a yellow flag? It could have been. Crosses the line. He pips the King Rapture. P3 for Mex as things stand. Donovan Laka across the line. P5 for him. Mandla is on the verge. No, he's abandoned his hot lap attempt. Here comes Tabo T92 towards the line. P5 for him. Mandla's back in the pits. What about Zotal? He's now making his way into third and final sector. He's got 7 minutes to lay down his marker, stake his claim on the top of the timing tower here. 18, 19, 20, 21. This is turn 21 for Zotal into 22. Lifts off the throttle. Gear 6. The final corner, and he pushes it. And P7 is the best that he could do as things currently stand. Provisional P7 for Zotal, 39.956. We have 5 drivers who have breached that 38 seconds or higher. Seaflay, the quickest man by some distance, 37.2 is the benchmark. His teammate, 38.026, the best that he could currently do. So that is absolutely scorching and sensational from the top runners. Caboza for Team McLaren. What can he do? We saw Seaflay have a little bit of a twitch on the navigating those initial corners, but he still managed to keep it together all the way through the rest of his lap. Caboza for Team McLaren on that first DRS straight towards turn 7. 27.506 is the best that he could do in his Sector 1 split. So he's off the pace as far as from Seaflay by a factor of about just over 4/10 is the pace differential through Sector 1. And let's see now how Caboza manages to hold on through the second and third sectors, trying to carry as much speed as possible, riding those curves heavily is Kaboza. Now, the left-hander, he will absolutely punch it towards turn number 14 on this track, 105.944. He's no slouch, is Kaboza, through that sector 2 split, and he absolutely sends it once again into this also challenging final sector. Turn number 18 underneath the grandstand, a little bit wide of the apex was Kaboza there. Might have compromised his entry into 19, but he keeps it together, keeps it clean. A little bit of hesitancy into on the exit of turn 20. 21 was clean. This is 22. This is 23. This is Kaboza across the line. P8 is the best that he could do, 140.1. I have a feeling that Kaboza definitely has a little bit more in the tank, a little bit more in reserve, and we can see a definite improvement from Kaboza. I shudder to think what Seaflay can still do. 37.270 is a fantastic effort, but we did see Seaflay have that slight tweak of the steering wheel on those initial coming out of corners. So we will see whether or not Seaflay can squeeze out a couple more tenths of and just show us what he is made of. But the sheer quality of Tier 1, this is the third and final qualifying session, the highest pressure, and 5 of these drivers are in the 38 seconds, and everybody else, Don, Zotal, in the 39. So absolutely beautiful, beautiful effort as far as they are concerned. This is Mandla, who is currently on his outlap, so he had to abandon his initial attempt, and we're going to see what he can do towards the end of proceedings here. Just under 3.5 minutes of this third and final quali session to go. Mandla has yet to set a banker lap, so you can ignore that red invalidation. He has, of course, been taking liberties with the track limits, but he knows that he just needs to pay close attention now on these final sequences of corners, and he would be good to go as we look to get Mandla's push lap underway. Here he comes for Team Alfa Romeo, his teammate Josh, aka Damnesia, nowhere to be seen here. Oh, he went really, really heavy there, and he compromised his exit coming out of turn 2, but of course he had his heart in his mouth there because he came so close to invalidating, but he manages to keep it together. He did not breach too many track limits. Mandla, so not looking very comfortable out of the initial corners, but now he just knows that no invalidation means he just needs to keep it clean, keep it tight, keep it together. 27.3 is that split through Sector 1. It's not too bad for Mandla, still carrying a decent amount of speed through that initial sector. And, well, as things stand, we could see him giving some of the drivers in the middle of this pack a lot to think about. Mandla carrying a lot of speed through that left-hander, needs to nail the entry of this corner. A little bit wide of the apex there, and now he has to get the entry into the slow left-hander. Inch perfect, gear 2 for him, and he will absolutely floor it down towards turn number 14. His sector 2 split is a 105.616. Not too shabby, not too bad. This is a very, very decent effort by Mandla here. I do wonder who he will be giving headaches. Who will have a headache? Will it be Tableau T92? Will it be King Rapture that Mandla will be nudging down? But of course, before we get too ahead of ourselves, he needs to nail this final sector. Ooh, turn 20 without incident. 21 fairly clean. Didn't go too hard onto the curves there to Mandla. Here comes turn 22. It's gear 5 for Mandla. Turn 23. It's the main straight. It's Mandla. 39.5 is P7 for the Alfa Romeo driver. So, P7, as things currently stand, his battery is been depleted, and his red light is flashing. Oh, almost sends it into the wall there, and he ghosts, and that compromises Donathan Laka, who had to abandon his hot lap attempt. So that definitely gives Donathan Laka a lot to think about. Don will have to go all the way around once again. Don, having ran out of time, and having been compromised by the ghost of Mandla, who had just spun, opts to abandon his push lap attempt. Let's hop on board now with none other than Smirch Django, the pretender to the throne, the would-be challenger to the crown. Also takes a similar line into turn 1. And let's see if he manages to keep it clean, keep it tight, keep it without incident towards the end of Sector 1 here. But of course, you have to navigate all these turns. It's such a demanding track. The walls just come flying towards you. It's such a treacherous track is this Marina Bay Street Circuit. His Sector 1 split is about 1.5 tenths quicker than his previous attempts. It's a 27.1 for Smirch Django through the end of Sector 1. Looking very, very good. I do wonder what Seakley is doing behind him. We'll catch up with the champion, of course, towards the end of this session. It is Smirch Django now into Sector 2. He carries a lot of speed. Gear 4 through the left-hander. Has to nail this entry. He was down to Gear 3 there, but he switches very, very quickly and once again has to nail the entry through this slow corner. Went all the way down to Gear 2 and he is now punching it down the DRS straight. His Sector 2 split will be a 1:04.361. He is improved by 4.6 tenths by almost 4.5, more than 4.5 tenths coming now towards the end of Sector 3. This is Django at his absolute pinnacle, at his absolute best. Does he have a gritted teeth? Is he having beads of sweat down through his helmet? Well, we will have to see if he can keep his composure despite the pressure. But Django is absolutely sending it on the final sequences of corners, carrying so much speed. Gear 6 has a little bit of a slide, and he crosses the line with a 37.152. A beautiful effort. King Raptor could only do P4, and here comes one of the McLarens. It is Mex, who is now abandoning, sadly, his hot lap attempt. But Django shows what he is made of. Django Capoza has already crossed the line, so it looks like Seakley is the person to be watching, because Tabo T92 has taken the checkered flag. As it stands, provisional pole position for Smirch Django. This needs to be inch perfect for Seakley through here, but no. It looks like Seakley had abandoned his attempt at an earlier stage. So Smirch Django, as things stand, is in pole position with an absolutely sensational 1 minute 37.152. Nudges the champion Seakley down to P2. Look at the margins. It is so tight at the top of the top tier of Breakaway League racing. And at the end of Q2, it's going to be a Mercedes 1-2 with Mex, a beautiful 38.4, putting him in P3. His Royal Highness, the King Rapture, beautiful quality for him, P4. Zotile, who made it through to this final quali session, notches up a P5. So he could be happy with that, but of course, being the competitor he is, he might yet have hoped that he could have gotten higher. P6 for Tabo T92, flying the flags of the Royal Blue Red Bull. Don Lacka, P7. Towards the end of this quali session. And we then have Mandla P8 and Caboza will start this race in P9. Oh my word. Thank you very much for the kind words, Liddy and Rabico. Sapiso, sadly, heartbreak emojis. He has been compromised by load shedding. That is heartbreaking. It would have been fantastic to see how Sapiso would have fared around here. Seakley says it was a 36 and then he lost the rear. That happened off camera. To Seakley, it would have been absolutely exhilarating to see what you would have done. The Django, says Tabang. And Maguni Tindo says Django wins already. He wins quali, Tindo, but the race is another matter altogether. Look at that, just a 10th separating the top two, and Mex in P3 is more than a second behind that Mercedes pair, who are absolutely sensational this season, pushing each other to the absolute limit. And it looks like we're going to have a beautiful race. The likes of Seppo Temba is going to be joining proceedings, but he's going to be starting from the back of the pack over here. And Kasana says the difference between Merc and the boys... between the Merc boys and the rest is absolutely crazy. Man Ray says the top two needs another racer to join them. That gap is insane. What was P3? P3 was in the 38 seconds, and it was about 1.3 seconds behind Django. P3 is Mex, I believe. Forgot to look at the time. Says Django Well, it's a beautiful summer's night out here in Singapore at the Marina Bay Street Circuit. We saw a whole lot of drama in Tier 2 in that race last night. Of course, a whole lot of audacious overtake attempts. It's a track notoriously difficult for overtaking. Those short DRS straights, really some of the prime opportunities for you to attempt to overtake, and you really just have to stay as tight as possible to the driver that you're tailing. But of course, that does have its risks because you never know who might brake too early, who might miss their braking point, and then compromise your own efforts to try and overtake them. Well, I can't wait to see what the tire strategies will be. I can't wait to hear your thoughts and your reactions as well. Seatley could have done a time of the 36s.
Amaravelo sihle bekangayishaya idea. 36 eish. Bengifuna ubona ukuthi sihle bekazoyenzani vele ngoba uJengo naye uzamile bekaphusha man. Indoda bekaphusha.
Yes, he did push indeed. So now it's just going to be about holding his nerve, and we'll see how it will go. It's time for the formation lap, and let's get a sense of what the different teams are thinking as far as tire strategies is concerned. Mercedes thinking along similar lines. Mercedes medium tires rather for the leading duo. Mex in P3 and His Royal Highness the King Rapture, hard tire compounds for those drivers. Zotal in P5 has opted for a set of mediums. Tabo T92 following suit. Donathan Laka makes it a mixed bag among the top 10, also hard compound tires. Madla is really going aggressive at the start, is going to hope to overtake as much as he possibly can. P8 currently for him. Medium tires selected. Caboza back in P9. Hard tires for him. He struggled to lay down his marker on Q3. And as you can see there, Ngawako is behind him on mediums as well. He's going to look to attack Caboza. Tapiso, or the ghost of Tapiso rather, is on hards. S. Buddha is going to look to overtake that ghost as quickly as possible, as will this man, Ban Kobe, P13 currently, and he's going to start on the hards. Loveness is the driver furthermost towards the back, who's opted to start on those medium compound tires. Imnebo and Tepo Temba, hards for them. We will have 31 laps of racing around here. Crash says starting on the hards is a bad idea around here. The 86er, Galatzang, aka Scripto Titan, he says, Dawn would have qualified P3 in this lot. Your time yesterday was a 37.7. Tapiso says, I'll give you my spot, Don Rabico. Don says, well, starting on those hard compound tires is rolling the dice. It's a lottery if you opt to do that. Could win, you could lose, you never know. Safety decides, says Don Rabico. I absolutely cannot wait for what could yet be a tantalizing start to proceedings out here in Singapore. The Marina Bay Street Circuit in this oh-so-famous country with the oh-so-famous airport. You should really look their airport up. It looks like a botanical gardens at some point. It looks like a technological marvel in others. Really tranquil. Beautiful, beautiful place. But of course, the only flying we want to see here is these new generation Formula One cars, as Crash reckons that Mex will jump Seatley at the start. We know how insane Mex's race starts are. Watch out for the King Rapture as well. Django, also on the controller, has an insane race start as well, as one of the Alpha Tauris looks to make its way back into its proper starting position. We will have 31 laps of racing here, as Offense hopes that Seatley has practiced his race starts. It's 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, the only time South Africans look forward to the lights going out, and we are racing in Singapore. Django gets a clean start. Seatley is looking to fight off Mex. King Rapture is on the attack. King Rapture attacks Mex, but he could not get that move done. Mex held on to P3, and it's a clean start by the leading pack. The King Rapture is holding on on. Kaboza, insane start, gaining 4 places at the start of this race. Donathan Lack has gained 1. Tabo T92, not such a good day for him. Zotal on that racing wheel. Oh, there's a car. It's Tabo T92 who gets sent straight into the wall before the end of lap 1, compromising his own prospects. He's going to have to come in for an early race start here. Mantel's lost a couple of places. Loveness has gained 5 places as he's fighting now wheel to wheel with Bankobi. They make a little bit of contact. Bankobi has the inside line coming into the right-hander. Contact between Bankobi, Loveness, and Tempo Temba, who's commentator Red Bull today. He's now going to fight with Bankobi as the two drivers who were such fierce rivals in Tier 2 are now fighting it out in this initial battle towards the end of lap number 1. It's an absolute scrap in the midfield at the start of this race, and towards lap 1 of the 31, we have to watch out to see how the leading pack have fared over here, and it looks like Tabo T92 is going to make up the back of the pack here. Yellow flags for some of the early incidents, but he's going to have to come into the pits early, much earlier than we would have wanted. We're going to get a sense right now whether or not the drivers, any other drivers, have had huge incidents needing them to come into the pits. But that gap between P1 and 2, the race-leading Mercedes pair, is about 0.8 of a second currently. No safety car thus far. Just a couple of yellow flags as these drivers got their elbows out and jostled for a position in these initial stages. Smirch Django has to keep his composure, keep his head. But as I say that, he inches out a 1 second gap between himself and the champion. Here comes Mex across the line now. He is behind the leading pair also by a factor of about a second. Immediately behind him is His Royal Highness, the King Rapture, hunting down that Mercedes, that McLaren rather, as Crash gives kudos to the champion Seaflate for having a decent race start. We know that Seaflate is usually under duress from the drivers who are on the controllers, and they tend to have a little bit of an advantage at the race starts as far as this season is concerned. Here comes Zotal now in lap 2 of 31. His fight, his battle is against Donathan Laka, and ahead of that Ferrari driver is none other than Kaboza, who has had a sensational race start, gaining 4 places since the start of this race. Tabo T92 is at the back of the pack. He is in the pits as things currently stand, and he's just fitted a fresh set of hard compound tires. He will come out all the way at the back of the pack, and will have to fight his way back into the reckoning. Zotal, is fighting against Donathan Laka, who had a little bit of a moment with the wall there on the right-hand side. Zotal, on these medium tires, will look to pile even more pressure on Donathan Laka, but he is managing to hold his own, is the Ferrari driver. About 1.2 seconds behind this man, Kaboza, who has now inched to within DRS of the P4 running King Rapture. Absolutely beautiful series of battles all over the track. Here comes Kaboza through the final sequence of corners now. He is about a couple of places behind his teammate, that being Mex. But he loses a little bit of momentum to the King Rapture, whose exits out of the final corners is absolutely sensational, and he inches a 1.7 second advantage to Kaboza. Here comes Zotal, fighting still with none other than Donathan Laka ahead of him. What can he do? As he fights Donathan Laka, these two in P6 and 7 respectively have inched an advantage of about 4.3 seconds ahead of Bankobi for Team Aston Martin, who is now fighting off the advances, or rather the attempt of Tempo Temba to overtake him. Now, this is Kaboza versus Don versus Zotal. Can Zotal keep it together and avoid those costly mistakes, which really saw him having a nightmare out in France? But as things stand, it was a fairly solid quali, and he lost out at the start of this race, but he's keeping it together, and he's keeping calm, keeping it clean, keeping his composure versus the rookie Donathan Laka, who is also looking to take a chunk out of that possible P5 spot. Behind these guys, there's a little bit of a scrap happening. Loveness versus Tempo Temba, who was hunting down Bankobi himself. Loveness much tighter through that slow corner compared to Tempo Temba, who is now on that on the short straight, hunting down Bankobi, and Loveness now gets a wide entry through that right-hander, that being turn 14, of course. Absolutely on the hunt is Loveness now in lap 3 of 31. Meanwhile, it looks like there may yet be a scrap between the top two drivers who are now currently separated by about half a second. But we're just going to stay on board with Loveness to see how his battle with Teppo Temba and Brakeaway fares as lap 3 becomes lap number 4, and Loveness is too hard on the throttle. He had this exact issue in qualifying, and he compromises himself, and Level follows suit. It's synchronized spinning in Singapore for the Haas and Alpine, respectively. Meanwhile, Seakley is now on the hunt. He had fallen behind by more than a second from his teammate, but right now he is putting Django under the utmost pressure. Just 3 tenths separating the top 2 Mercedes drivers in lap number 4 of 31. Seakley biding his time with about 70% of his battery power versus Django's hovering at the 40% mark. There is Donathan Laka as well. Don't forget him, says Man Ray. We will take it to the streets, says Don Ravico in the comments section. Well. Seakley versus Django. That gap now less than half a second between these two. Inch perfect driving from the 2 Mercedes drivers who, by the end of lap 4, or rather as we approach the end of lap 4, have inched a 5.2 seconds advantage to the P3 running Mex. Man, oh man, oh man. It is pretty much drivers in a class of their own at this current moment. These top 2 Mercedes drivers fighting it out for the championship. Oh, picking up the missile himself! Seakley sends it straight into the wall, trying to put Django under pressure, but he now loses a wing, and he will hope for a safety car, and uncharacteristic error from the champion sees him make a huge error and send it straight into the wall, and the Mercedes fans in the crowd barely believing it as Seakley makes a huge mistake, and in lap 5 of 31, with no safety car having come out, the champion, the gold standard, the 3-time reigning absolute firebolt of a bullet of Tier 1, finds himself having to fight his way from P12. Could it even be P13 by the time he comes out? Well, time will tell. Mex will be grinning from ear to ear, barely believing the chance that he has. The gap between himself and Smirch Django now 6.6 seconds. Oh my goodness, absolutely jaw-dropping scenes. A rare error from Seakley, perhaps going too hard on the throttle in those final couple of corners. As Kasana said, Seakley is lucky that he was closer to the pit lane, because it would have been absolutely nightmarish if he would have had to fight his way all the way from there. Smirch Django, who started on those medium compound tires, now leads this race and has a 6.6 second advantage from the P2 running Mex. He will be grinning from ear to ear as Toto Wolff is now whispering to his strategist, trying to make sure that they can salvage as best a result as possible for Seakley. But now Django, being in the pound seats, needs to make sure that he keeps his composure together, that he keeps his head, that he keeps it simple, and just manages to eke out a genuine championship advantage between now and the end of the race. But of course, if a full safety car comes out and Seakley manages, of course, to bunch up to the back of the pack, and that may yet make things quite interesting here. But Django knows it is nowhere near a done deal. Lap 6 of 31, a long way to go. Zotal versus Donathan Laka. It was a battle in a lower part of the field, but now it's the battle for P5. Zotal, Don, Caboza, a 3-way DRS train here, and a possible beautiful battle that we have in prospect here. Perhaps each hoping for a mistake from one another, and that would, of course, make things interesting. Brakeaway coming into the pits. He may have had a damaged wing. He's running in P12. Now come into the pits, he will drop like a stone as far as those standings are concerned, as you get this beautiful overhead shot of Zotal trying to stake his claim on these places here. And Ngawako, aka D-Wax, has just effected an overtake on none other than Mandla in lap 6 of 21. So we have another beautiful battle in prospect between Ngawako, that being D-Wax, and Mandla, and also Teppo Temba. Another 3-way battle. Mini DRS train that we have here. This is the perspective from the Alfa Romeo driver, Mandla, who was used up so much of his battery power, down to about 8%. He's flashing that battery, really screaming as Mabla comes through that slow left-hander, trying to get his line, his exit as clean as possible. He's still within DRS, as you can see. He opens up that rear wing, carries a little bit more speed as he possibly can, and he's absolutely looking to keep things clean and without incident as he will look to get his P8 spot back from Ingawako, aka D-Wax. Lap number 7 of 31. Thankfully, no full safety cars as yet. That could make things very, very interesting if that were to be the case. Now, Romeo Mandla, Gear 5 through the penultimate corner, towards Gear 6, but through that Sector 3, he lost all that initiative. And he's now 1.4 seconds behind Ingawako, who is hoping to hang on to that DRS. He can smell the fumes coming out of the back of Tsepo Temba's car. Tsepo Temba today in the colors of Red Bull, but he is an Aston Martin driver. He is Ban Kobe's teammate. Ban Kobe now running all the way back in P13. Look at Ingawako D-Wax trying to dive on the inside into turn 7. Can he get it done? He's nowhere near close enough to get this move done. Oh, Ingawako D-Wax forcing Tsepo Temba to take a wide entry and exit through that turn, but Tsepo Temba still was not giving that position away. Ingawako will have to live to fight another day. Tsepo Temba has been circumspect with his battery power. He's about at 60% of his battery power compared to Ingawako in his overtake attempt, has used his battery down to about 30% remaining. Man, oh man, oh man. Sector 2 opens up that rear wing, does Ingawako, as they rush past that gradual right-hand turn 13, and of course that braking zone, that being turn number 14 for Ingawako, who has lost a little bit of momentum, has slipped a little bit out of DRS. That gap now 1.1 seconds between Ingawako and Tsepo Temba. Look at that, Donathan Laka, Kaboza, really climbing their way up the pack here, but that is because King Rapture in lap number 7 has opted to come into the pits. That's why the likes of Kaboza, Dawn, and Zotal have moved up. Oh, damaged wing. That front left wing end plate of King Rapture means an early pit stop, and he will have to fit his mediums in lap number 8 of 31. Ooh, how much will he struggle towards the end here on these medium tires? Perhaps another one who will be hoping for a safety car as we go towards the end of proceedings here. Zotal is now back in P5, and it's a mini DRS train here, as has been the case here for quite some time. Kaboza, Dawn, Zotal pulling each other, dragging each other along in this here circuit, and Zotal is currently closest of the bunch as far as the driving on his. Oh, Jonathan Laka sends it straight into the wall ahead of Zotal there in Sector 2, bringing out the safety car that Sitle would have been hoping and praying for. And in lap 8 of 31, the Ferrari driver becomes the first that we lose at the Marina Bay Street Circuit. And he will be the first to bring out a safety car. Decisions for the race leader. What will the leaders do? Smirch Jangle brilliantly, beautifully had eked out a 12-second advantage by the time the safety car was called. He will come into the pits. Look how slowly he's moving. They saw all those mistakes with those penalties for speeding into the pit lane. That's why he was crawling into the pit lane. He opts to come in. Mex, who started on the hard compound tires, will carry on. Smirch Jangle will now fit his set of hard compound tires. And this safety car is good news, remember, for Sicle, who had made that mistake earlier. Kaboza also started on the hard. So Team McLaren, who had perhaps gambled and rolled the dice on a possible safety car in the early stages, well, they're going to be grinning from ear to ear because Team McLaren has the advantage in the initial stages of this race. Zotal has come into the pits and fitted his set of hard compound tires, and Neville started on the hards. He carries on, of course. Seaclay, who had pitted courtesy of the mistake, now takes advantage and gains all those positions. Remember, Seaclay at some point was languishing down in P12. He has made his mandatory pit stop. Of course, it was enforced, but now he is up to P5. Now, significantly older tires, of course. Well, 4-lap older tires compared to his teammate. But Seaclay is a man who can manage these hards all the way through to the end. Zotal comes out behind the champion. His Royal Highness, the King Rapture, had already pitted before the safety car was called. P7 for him. Ngawako, a.k.a. D-Wax for Team Alpha Tauri, has just come into the pits, and out of the pits, rather, for his set of hard tires. Tepo Temba also followed suit. Mediums for him. Loveness is in P10, the last of the points places. Hard tires for him. Madla had already come into the pits. P11 for him. Ban Kobe has medium tires that are 3 laps old. I do wonder if he's going to take this opportunity to perhaps rethink that, perhaps put on a set of hards which would give him more confidence towards the end here. What would you do if you're in Ban Kobe's position? Well, of course, he could be giving up his position to this man, Tabo T92, whose incident in lap 1 really cost him so much as far as this race is concerned. The Ghost of Tepiso making up the rear of proceedings here. So Tabo T92 will be one of the drivers saying, one of the drivers is very grateful that the safety car has come out because his race, of course, was compromised all the way back in lap number 1. We are now heading towards lap 10 of 31. Django was leading by about 12 seconds, but finds himself now in P3, his teammates and championship rival just a couple of positions behind him. So once again, at the restart, the two McLarens are going to be ones to watch, considering their tire age relative to some of these runners. And Nebo, who had also started on those hards, still needs to come into the pits. As you can see there, 3 of the top 4 drivers have yet to pit. And the same goes for the Ghost of Tepiso at the back as well. As things stand, none of the drivers are opting to come in more than their one stop. Even the likes of this man, Ban Kobe, who we have mentioned, is on medium tires that have already done a couple of laps around here. So, we're in lap number 10 of 31 as the likes of Ban Kobe and Esbuda look to catch up to the back of the pack. We do hope that this is going to be the last lap under safety car before proceedings get back underway and we go racing properly here in Singapore. Tepiso, whose participation here was compromised by load shedding, saying, I'll just come back to racing properly, consistently, and pushing as hard as I can when I get that new inverter. Crash saying hards were always a bad idea around here. Advantage Django, reckons Don Rabico, as the safety car is still going around, perhaps waiting for the Ghost of Tepiso to catch up to the back of the pack here. Do hope that lap number 10 is the last that we have under this particular safety car. Of course, the two McLaren drivers have to watch their back and have to be wary at the race restart. Number one, all these hard tire runners need to make sure that they get that tire temperature up to as best a condition as they can at the race restart. But Mex and Caboza, on those older hard tires, are battling tire age and tire temperature at the restart. So that's going to be quite interesting. We know how aggressive Django is at race start and race restart, so Caboza has to watch his back. Tapiso reckons we could be having a crash at the restart. Tapiso channeling the likes of Selby Sanale Songo, always hoping and praying for a couple of crashes in safety cars. Sanale Selby Songo safety car, Bacania, he's always hoping for a couple of crashes to sprinkle a little bit of drama here. We've seen unforced errors, we've seen spins, we've seen lost wings, and I think it was from the vantage point of Zotao that we saw Donathan Laka lose his car in Sector 2, sending it straight into the wall, bringing out this very safety car that we hope will be summoned back into the pit lane by race control. Crash says the dives, and Tapiso says more heat in the tires. That last corner catches people. Donathan Laka wants to hop on and show his mettle. Show what he's made of. Crash, with the early prediction, says Django, Sihle, Zotao as the drivers that will finish on the podium. Do you agree? Let me know. Who's going to finish P1, P2, P3? Crash has rolled the proverbial dice. Crash has pretty much said what his expectations are, as race control has given the word that the safety car is due to make its way in. As you can see on the bottom right, that yellow marker being the safety car is coming in. Mex is backing up the pack as much as he can, weaving to the left and to the right, really backing the pack up. I do wonder when Mex will decide to give it a proper push, a proper go. We know how treacherous these corners can be. Mex has absolutely sent it. He has sent it. Look at that gap, 1.3 seconds already. Caboza fighting to keep Seasley, rather Django at bay, but Django is going to absolutely go for it. Will he be close enough? Going into turn one. He goes wide. He goes on the inside. Django, wheel to wheel. Will they make contact? The answer is yes. Caboza is forced wide, but Caboza hangs on to P2. No, it's Django who is up to P2. Caboza has been relegated, if you will, down to P3, fighting his way back on those older tires. Seasley also looking to make his mark. He did not, he did steal a march, did Seasley. He's now up to P4, and Nebo and Zotao, the Alpine pair, fighting it out, as is the King Rapture. Look at the take a bite out of that position. King Rapture versus Nebo, or is it Zotao? They make a little bit of contact, and the King Rapture overtakes Zotao in that second sector, the beginning of Sector 2. It is scraps, it is fights, it is battles all the way through here, and Zotao has to live to fight another day and try to retake his position. We know how aggressive the King Rapture can be. 4-lap old medium compound tires. He is looking to take advantage of those hard tires, which have yet to possibly come into the optimum working window. And he thinks about it, but King Rapture is going to dive on the inside on the exit of that slow corner. They're going to go wheel to wheel, side by side over here on that rush down towards turn number 14. Oh, King Rapture on the outside can't get the move done. And Lovell goes wide on the corner exit, and King Rapture overtakes him. It's a beautiful overtake, a switcheroo, classic stuff from the King Rapture. And now both Alpines have been dispatched by the Williams driver, being cheered on somewhere in South Africa by his teammate Mello de Mello, Malusi de Malusi. Let's catch up now on that battle for the race lead. Smirch Django has worked his way up to P2. We saw that sensational battle with Caboza earlier on, and now finds himself about half a second behind the McLaren. It's Mercedes attacking McLaren for P1 and P3 respectively, as we get that beautiful shot which showed Seatley thinking about that overtake on Kapoza, a couple of positions down. Will Seatley get this move done? Django thought about it, but he was not close. But now on this DRS straight, he may yet have an advantage or have a possibility to get this overtake done. Seatley is battling Kapoza a little bit behind, and Mex protects the inside line. Coming into the left-hander, it's wheel to wheel. They made contact. Django touches Mex, and he will have the inside line now coming into this right-hander, and Django has got the overtake done. They made contact, and Mex was forced to concede that P1 position, and now Django is going to look to build as much of a gap as he possibly can, but he knows that at the back of his mind, of course, his teammate is looking to overtake Kapoza. So right now, Kapoza is doing Mex the biggest of favors because Seatley is struggling to overtake the McLaren driver whose older tires are hanging in there. And Kapoza making his car as wide as he possibly can as they now make their way in towards turn number 14. It's sector 2 for Seatley, who has been thinking about this overtake for these races. Oh, Temple Temba has lost his car. He becomes the second driver to crash out. And bringing out the safety car once again, Temple Temba. And that will be such good news for the McLaren pair who had yet to pit, remember. The safety car is back out. And here comes Smirch Django down towards the final corners. And the McLarens have to pit, which means Seatley will be right behind his teammates because of this McLaren double stack. It's drama in Singapore. Seatley is back exactly where he wanted to be. He has Django exactly where he wanted him to be. Let's see how many places Kapoza will lose as a result of that double stack. It's a couple of positions. Lap 14 of 31, they both McLarens fit those medium compound tires. And Gawako Dwex sped his way into the pit lane, and that earns him a 5-second time penalty. Was that a similar time penalty for Mandla? No, Mandla's time penalty was for track limit, so he has 3 seconds. And it looks like Ngawako has a drive-through penalty. That might have been for speeding under the safety car. Remember, it's yellow flags all around. They have to slow down to about 40% of regular race pace to the cars, and if you go too fast, then you do rack up that drive-through penalty. And on top of the drive-through, Ngawako racks up a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Nightmare scenario for the AlphaTauri driver. It's been a dramatic middle part of this race, I'll tell you that, because a fairly incident-free race start has been littered with lost wings and safety cars towards the midpoint. But Seatley will be smiling, grinning from ear to ear. And now remember, his tires are older by a couple of laps. 4 laps older than Django's. Is that enough to make a tangible difference? Let me know. I don't think so. The safety car sucks, says Crash in the comments. Zotal Podium, even on his birthday, he will spin. That's so reckons Tindo. Kapoza is fighting the gents at bay for Mex, keeping them at bay. Yes, he was doing exactly that. Let's go Benson, says the 86er, aka Gowlet Sang, aka Scripto Titan, in the comment section. Man, oh man, oh man. Seatley versus Django once again at the race restart. We saw Seatley make that uncharacteristic mistake, which cost him his P2 spot way earlier in this race. Will Django blink? Will Django be susceptible to similar pressures and make that mistake, which would hand over the initiative to the champion? What will Zotal be able to do? He finds himself in a prime position here. He pitted at the exact same time as Smirch Django. Both Zotal and Django 6-lap old hard compound tires as things stand. It's a good day for Mandla if he can hang on to this P4 spot and try to build as much of a gap as possible to Esbuda to try and mitigate that 3-second time penalty that he had already racked up. At the back of the pack, Ban Kobe, wing damage, fresh set of medium tires for him in lap 15 of 31, so he's going to fight his way from the back of the pack with that. Ngawako, aka D-Wax. P14 for him, and all those time penalties, don't forget. Zotal third, Mandel fourth, Esbuda currently running P5. 10-lap old medium tires. Interestingly, did not opt to pit despite the age, those aging medium tires. So Esbuda rolling the dice here, and if he hangs on to this set of tires, he'll be one to watch as he'll be fighting for grip, as much grip as he possibly can get. Tabo T92, 13-lap old hards. It's a recovery drive for Tabo, whose lap 1 incident saw him lose all that momentum. What a drive that would be if Tabo T92 manages to push these tires all the way through to the end. Mex, who has recently pitted, will definitely be one to watch very, very carefully on those brand new medium compound tires. Couple of drivers between him, that being the Ghost of Tepiso, His Royal Highness King Rapture, and of course Mex's teammate Caboza, currently running P10, and Nabo P11, Loveness P12, and Bankobi, who we recently saw come into the pits, is now making his way towards the back of the pack, followed by Ngawako, aka D-Wax. Well, have your shouts for podium changed at all? As things stand, Crash called it absolutely inch perfectly. If it stays like this, then that would have been one of the most impressive early calls for final finishes that I've ever seen. Oh, what was that? Django, mistake! Sees him lose his lead. Django, under safety car, perhaps was trying to warm up his tires, has a huge spin, and gives up the race lead. He's now down to P4. Oh, man, Django, what the heck is going on? Cicle will say thank you very much, will waste no time, and has absolutely sent it. Has a 1.1 second advantage. Django now has to fight his way from P3. He was in the lead, but he made that mistake under safety car. Now has to fight his way up from P3. Battling Mandla, trying to keep Mandla at bay. Oh, Django absolutely losing his nerve, losing his composure, and having that huge spin, and now has to try and catch up to his teammate as fast as he possibly can. It could have been a memorable race from the front to a memorable victory, but now he has to recover to challenge for the race win. Stupid mistakes, says Crash in the comment section. Here comes Zotal trying to make his way now, trying to make his car as wide as possible, and deny Django a P2 spot. Deny Django an opportunity to catch up to his teammates. Oh, he's so close as Django, but no cigar. Close, but no cigar in lap 16, and he'll be kicking himself. But you know what? He's done it before. He's made mistakes before as Django, and he's managed to fight his way up. But as the 86er says in the comment section, and as all of you have said pretty much throughout the evening here, this is one of the worst tracks to overtake. Django thinks about it, going on the outside, he switches onto the inside. Oh, they made contact, and Django was too eager, and he loses his position and almost loses his car completely there, but thankfully doesn't hit the wall. He's now down to P5. Was way too eager trying to overtake there in a position where he did not have the right to dive as deep as he did. Zotal held his nerve, held his position, and he's still in P2. And he's still set for what would be a fantastic result here. Now finds himself about 2.8 seconds behind Cicle, who is grinning from ear to ear because it is advantage to the champion as Caboza racks up a time penalty on his attempt to fight his way back into the reckoning. Don't forget, Mex is on those fresh medium compound tires. He's now up to P4. A beautiful recovery from him. Smirch Django is not going to have a picnic versus the likes of Mex. So he's going to have to bide his time and not go for rash overtake attempts. His Royal Highness King Rapture is hunting down Tabo T92, who is on his own possible memorable recovery drive here. Nintendo Wii says Mex is cooking. Zotal is screaming after that, says Sanalay Mazanti in the comment section. Oh, Mex has overtaken Romeo, and he goes up to P3. Look at that. The Ferrari driver followed by Smirch Django, overtakes Romeo into P4. Oh, man, two cars overtaking Romeo on the same stretch of track. It is absolutely pivotal moments for all these drivers here who are leaving nothing on nothing to chance. Oh, Django drives on the inside, and he crashes into Max. Smirts Django going for ridiculous dive bombs here, and he might find himself at the mercy of the stewards come the end of proceedings here, because in his attempt to catch up with his teammates, he is diving into very, very risky overtake attempts, and that would definitely, possibly compromise his prospects towards the end here, as Buddha becomes the third driver to crash out here in Singapore, bringing out the yellow flag in Sector 3. Thankfully, no safety car over here, as Lee reckons that Zotal is looking strong in these proceedings, in these race proceedings. There's so much happening all the way out on track. It looks like a virtual safety car as things stand, so these drivers have to slow down, and Django, who is trying to fight his way back into the reckoning, has to slow down to a stroll here, as of course is mandated by race control. It looks, folks, like it is another full safety car, because S. Buddha has become the third driver to crash out. Yep, I do see the safety car out on track. A couple of you unimpressed by Smirts Django's overly eager attempts to gain track position. But as things stand, Seathley is going to have to fight his way back into another commanding position. He had eked out a 3-second advantage, had the champion, so he's looking very, very, very good, very solid, calm, composed, collected, as champions do. 2.8 seconds. It is under safety car, so they will get bunched up once again. Safety car is ruining this race, man. Too many safety cars. Mex is up to P3. What a day for Mex. It has to be said. They rolled the dice, did the two McLaren drivers. They opted to go long. They opted to start on the hard compound tires, and after that first safety car, they were leading proceedings. And right now, on the fresher mediums, they find themselves in P3 and P6, respectively. Caboza, unfortunately, has to contend with that time penalty, as does this man, Mandla, a.k.a. Romeo, in P5. His Royal Highness, King Rapture, we've seen embroiled in a couple of battles and a couple of audacious overtake attempts earlier on in the race. It's currently P7 for him. I do wonder, it looks like he's going to opt to take these tires all the way through to the end. One of the McLarens has come into the pits. It's this man, Caboza. What will he do? Which tire compound will he select? Tabo T92 on those old 17-lap old hard tires will come into the pits. Caboza opts for another fresh set of mediums that'll take him hopefully towards the end of this race. No more safety cars, please, race control. Tabo T92 is going to exit the pit lane, currently P10, as the likes of Ban, Kobe, Tsepiso, and the Ghost of Tsepiso, and Ingowako, aka D-Wax, are going to be hoping to catch up. It's been a nightmare day for this man, who's had to serve a time penalty, 5-second time penalty. He served that when he came into the pits, and he had a drive-through penalty on top of that. That is why he's so far behind. That is why he was on the verge of getting lapped, Ingowako, and right now he's just aiming to catch up to the back of the pack. As you can see, he's about almost a full lap behind the race leaders that are following behind the safety car as things stand. Lap 18 of 31. What a deliciously dramatic race we have had. Hopefully no more safety cars from here on out. Ban Kobe back in the pits. He was on 3-lap old mediums. Will it be a fresh set, I wonder? Exiting the pits was Ban Kobe. It's a used set of mediums, 3-lap old mediums. Ghost of Tsepiso in P11. And Zotal in a beautiful P2 position. Hopefully the safety car will calm him down. Rabico, presumably speaking about Django. S. Buddha is the new king. Spoutifi, says Tindo. His Royal Highness King Rapture, that being the 86er, responding to that. Tsepiso says, gents that DNF'd are making me safe from relegation. That's interesting, and it's something to talk about. Now, Donathan Laka crashed out of this race. Before today, Don was in P12 in the driver's standings. S. Buddha, who also crashed out, was in P15. Seppo Temba, who also crashed out, was in P5. So Seppo Temba, of the drivers that have crashed out, was in the best position as far as the driver standings were concerned. So what was a sensational day, which could have been a memorable pole position to the flag finish, has been marred. Oh, Ban Kobe has crashed out here. Ban Kobe, is that in sector 3? Yeah, Ban Kobe crashed out. Ngawako D-Wax just passed the carnage, the wreckage of Ban Kobe's car, who has lost his Aston Martin under safety car conditions, leaving just 12 drivers running, 11 if you consider that it is the ghost of Tsepiso that is currently out on track. So, what was 16 drivers is now down to 11. And Ngawako D-Wax has to pass Tabo T92 to guarantee himself minimum of 1 point. Of course, finishing P10 guarantees you that one and final championship point, which is up for grabs over here. So mistakes galore, crashes, incidents, spins. This race has had it all. Liddy reckons Tsepiso is going to survive. If there's one thing about you, you go out swinging. Tsepiso leaves it all out on track and leaves nothing to chance. Liddy says, Seaflay has the slightly better pace. Django has younger tires. It's going to be interesting. Don Rabico says Django will be in trouble with those tires to the end if Django is behind him. Or maybe he says Seaflay will be in trouble. Django must relax. Definitely he must. As things stand, some of those overtake attempts and some of those wheel-to-wheel moments might find Django in trouble with the stewards by the end of proceedings here, as we watch Ngawako try to catch up to the back of the pack. Seaflay and Django must go to professional esports. They must leave us alone, says Tsepiso. Well, you're still worrying about them. The likes of Fensei have come up to the top tier. The likes of Don Rabico have yet to come up here and wreak havoc in the top tier of Breakaway League racing. Man, oh man, oh man. What a day possibly for this man, Zotao, in that Alpine. His best finish this season was that podium finish in Australia. He finished the third. He finished the third in Australia, did Zotao. As things stand, this is Zotao being on the brink of an absolutely sensational final couple of laps here. We will have hopefully 9 laps of hard racing. Do hope that this will be the cue for the safety car to come back into the pits. I must say, Mex has really shown his quality ever since coming up. He got a podium on debut. He finished P3 in Azerbaijan, did Mex, and then he finished 5th in Australia. Monza was where things came unstuck. He could only manage 11th place. He then racked up a P6 finish in France, and last time out in the feature race, Mex crossed the line in P5. So he's looked very, very good, very comfortable among some of the best drivers in the Breakaway Racing League. And we'll watch closely to see his progress and whether or not he can also add consistency and iron out some of those small mistakes which cost him in earlier races this season. What a beautiful helicopter shot we had there, and you get a sense of what a gorgeous marina we're racing around here in this Marina Bay Street Circuit. Race control has given the word. The safety car is coming back in at the end of this lap. Watch them weave to the left and right, trying to get as much temperature back into those tires as possible. Seaflay had an absolutely gorgeous race restart after the most recent safety car. taking full advantage of his teammates' woes and his teammates' unforced error. So both Mercedes drivers making unforced errors that saw them slip and slide down the grid, or rather the standings. Cicle, I do wonder where he will send it. Last time out, he absolutely punched it coming out of turn 22. And now he sends it. Look at Zotal right on his tail. Cicle. Oh, the King Rapture's made a mistake. He's slipping and sliding all the way down to the back of the pack. Let us watch now to see how these top guys can fight against Cicle. Oh, beautiful race restart from Zotal, who is within half a second of the P1 running Cicle. Beautiful. Oh, and Mex goes into the back of Zotal, which sends him down to P3. I do wonder if Mex has damaged his wing there, and Zotal might have gone too hard onto the brakes there, compromising his exit coming out of those initial corners. Mex now up to P2, but how much damage did Mex take? That incident between Mex and Zotal has meant that Cicle has a 2-second advantage, and Zotal slipping down means that Smirch Django is now up to P3 and is about 4 or so seconds. No, he's about 3 seconds behind the race leader. This is, of course, the gap, the interval gap between these drivers and the race leader. So Django is about 3 seconds behind Cicle, and Mex is bridging that gap. He's gained about half a second in this race restart. Remember, Mex is on the fresher tires. He's on the faster tires. And as things stand, it doesn't look like he took too much damage in his slight bump with Zotal on that race restart. He's also careful with how much of his battery he's using, and if you look at his onboards, like you've mentioned in the comments, his racing lines and his corner entries are sublime, Mex. So all he needs to do now is keep his composure towards the end of proceedings here, down towards turn 20, turn 21, without incident, loses a bit of momentum to Cicle, loses a couple of tenths down into turn 22 and 23, and he is now back to about 1.8 seconds behind the race leader. Django about 3 seconds behind Cicle. Zotal a couple of seconds behind Django. Mandla is really leading a mini DRS train here, being hunted down by Capoza. Loveness not too far behind. Look at that gap between these guys, this mini DRS train, if you will. It is absolutely tight. Tabo T92, Loveness, Capoza, and Mandla. A four-way fight as Capoza is sending it on the inside. Oh, on the outside of Mandla. Could he get the move done? No. Mandla holds the inside line. He hands on to P5. Capoza will have the inside line into the right-hander. Oh, they almost made contact. Capoza loses momentum. He's surpassed by Loveness. Here comes Tabo T92 into the left-hander. Capoza holds his own, and he hangs on to P7. But he lost momentum. Capoza's battle was with Mandla, but he did not get those corner entries right, and now finds himself now fighting from P7. Medium compound tires for Capoza, for Loveness, and for Mandla. Pretty much everyone from P5 to 10 running those mediums. King Rapture at the back of the pack, those old hard compound tires, which surely, definitely must be screaming at this point. On board we go with Tabo T92, currently running P8, hunting down Capoza. He's going to have to contend with that 3-second time penalty, remember. Tabo T92 takes a cleaner line. Capoza trying to navigate turn 17 and 18. Tabo T92 had a bit of a moment with the wall, but he manages to stay in touch with this trio. Oh, Loveness goes wide on the exit of 21, and here comes Tabo T92 overtaking the Hash driver without incident. He's now hunting down Capoza as Tabo T92 carrying so much speed. He's about 3/10 as he hunts down the McLaren driver on that rush towards turn 1. Loveness now trying to recover as the King Rapture racks up a time penalty of his own, and Levo has had to come back into the pits for an incident further down the pack. It's Tabo T92 about half a second behind Capoza, who is hunting down Mandla. What a day for Mandla and Capoza, who have huffed and puffed trying to hang on to these midfield positions. Capoza on the inside going into turn 7. Will Mandla make contact? The answer is no. Mandla has to concede the position. He's down to P6, and Mandla will be bobbing his head, looking to those mirrors, looking left, looking right, because looming in his rear view mirror is the scepter, the sight of Tabo T92, who's going to have the inside line coming into the left-hander, but he did not get close enough to Tabo. So Tabo showing the kind of patience that Django perhaps could have demonstrated earlier to get those surgical precision as far as those overtakes are concerned. It's about half a second is Tabo T92 behind Mandla, who is putting up a valiant fight versus all of these guys. Mandla doing what he can to consolidate his position among the points, despite that time penalty that he has to contend with. And Nebo wants to do 7 laps on soft on this demanding track. Race engineers are sleeping, says Man Ray. And Nebo's at the back of the pack with those soft compound tires, perhaps really looking for a miraculous series of overtakes as it stands, because Nebo is quite far behind the ghost of Tepiso as things currently stand. Seatley managing the race, absolutely, because Seatley is about 8 or so tenths behind, or rather in front of Mex in P2. Here comes Tabo T92. Will this be the moment? Tabo T92 right in the back of Mandla. He goes on the inside, wheel to wheel, side by side, and he gets that overtake done up to P6, and he will resume his fight with Caboza, who has eked out a decent gap between himself. Ooh, Loveness overtakes Mandla, who's had a bit of a moment and might have made contact with Loveness, and Mandla slips and slides down to P9. Let's get back up into the battle for the race leads. Here comes Mex hunting down Seakley as they're fighting it out for the lead of this race. Oh, a little bit of a moment there. We hear that familiar sound of a car coming into the wall. Mex hanging on for dear life. Oh, Seakley has had to slow down. No way, another safety car. Who's crashed out now? Who brought out the safety car? Mandla keeping it in Tier 1 Delicious. Someone may have had a huge incident. Was it in Nebo? We're now going to have to see. And Nebo's wings are intact, as are the ghosts of Tepiso. Was it King Rapture who brought out this safety car? Someone may have had it. Ooh, is that King Rapture? I just need to get another. Yep, the King Rapture losing his wing completely, and the stewards again deciding that a safety car is due. The King Rapture on those old hard compound tires, once again bringing out the safety car. Mandla, who was also on those aging hard tires, 17 lap old hards, had already taken damage to his front wing, as you can see. Mex, puzzlingly, comes into the pits for soft tires. That is surprising. That is very, very surprising. Mex gives up all those positions. That is very surprising. Mandla racks up a time penalty. Capoza also opting to come into the pits here. But of course, I mean, they will be bunched up. Well, man, these guys really trust rolling the dice and putting their faith in their overtaking abilities. But then again, Seatley's on 21 lap old hards. Django, 17 lap old hards. Let's get a sense of their thinking here. Zotal, 17 lap old hards. Loveness, 12 lap old mediums. And Gowacko, D-Wax, 9 lap old mediums. Then we have the Gamblers, Mex, Caboza, brand new softs. Django, another mistake. What the heck is going on? Down to P5. He was in P2. What the heck is going on with... Oh, is that a glitch? Okay, hopefully that was a network glitch for Django there. That was very, very, very weird. Okay, let's get back to the Gamblers. Mex, Caboza, Tabo T92 has to overtake the Ghost of Tepiso. And Nabo, Mandla, and His Royal Highness, King Rapture. Currently P12. Oh, it's going to be a hell of a scrap towards the back, isn't it? These guys are going to be having a titanic tussle. The scrap of their lives. Trying to climb over each other before they can even think about overtaking the guys on those hard tires. How long can these hards go? I will throw that question to you in the comment section. Tabang is asking, how long can these hard tires go? Sikle, if he manages to hang on to the race lead here, considering his tire age, this will be a absolutely sensational effort here. Tabo T92. Did he take some damage here on the safety car? No. Still running. Seppo was saying Overtake with Teppo was saying Mex and Caboza could get podium with that roll of the dice. Yeah, Django gave me a heart attack, that glitch. Crash responding to that. Mex and Caboza must work as a team, says the 86er. I do wonder if they can get that done, and if they can, how quickly these two can give Ingawako, aka D-Wax, a headache and effect a possible quick overtake. We won't have many laps of racing here to go. Tabang says Titus can take these tires to 30 laps. I believe that. The safety car has helped them a lot. Speaking about Mex and Caboza, Tapiso says these hards can go 25 laps.
Maybe Tapiso right.
Muhammad Titus. Liddy says Sikle is fighting with those tires. Champion for real. Looking very good is the three-time champion. He has looked solid and unflustered for the most part. Did Mandela damage his wing? He did earlier. Part of the reason why he came into the pits was to change his wing, and of course he has ruled the dice under this safety car. What a feat it would be if Zotal could also hang on to these podium places here on his set of aging tires. We're just waiting now for the Ghost, or rather for Mandla, to catch up to the back of the pack. I do wonder. Yep, the safety car is coming in from lap 28, hopefully towards the end. We will have racing through and through. 86er says Titus can pretty much go from the beginning to the end of the race on hard compound tires. When will Sikle send it? Oh, Django still... No, Sikle still weaving. Django is not going to be caught napping. Oh, Django, his front wing kisses the back of his teammate. Django was also eager there, as Sikle had yet to send it. Zotal is wasting no time. He's about 2/10 behind the leading pack. Let's see now if this man, Zotal, can keep it together. They're clean through these initial exits. The top three keeping their places. Luckness is now up to P4. The King Raptor, look at that. Oh, what happened to Mex? He's all the way down to P12. Huge mistake costing him. Caboza also having a nightmare. Oh, is that Zotal? Yes, it is. A huge incident costing him. He's now down to P8, P9, P10. He has fallen all the way back. Those old hard compound tires, not singing as Zotal would have wanted them to. He was struggling for grip and now will have to fight his way back into a possible podium space. But of course the story of today is, what can these top two guys do? Can they hang on? Can they keep it together? It's a potential 1-2 for Mercedes once again, as these two drivers who've given us a sensational championship fight are doing exactly the same in trying conditions on aging tires in this technical, challenging, demanding track. Sikle from Django from Loveness is the top three, and I would have you know that Ingawako, aka D-Wax, is not going down without a fight. Look how close he is from Loveness, and His Royal Highness, the King Rapture, is there and thereabouts. Tabo T92, Capoza, Mandla, everybody forming a mini DRS train here, and hopefully in a couple of laps' time, we would see perhaps even for the final lap of this race being under DRS. So all these guys need to do is hang on to whoever they're chasing. Oh, Composer crashes into the back of Tabo T92, and those braking conditions, he loses his wing on Composer. And remember, Tabo T92 was also trying not to hit the back of King Rapture. Composer will have to come into the pits. He will have to relinquish his position. So Mex, who made that huge mistake, finds himself now up to P8. Romeo's now up to P7. Remember, he has that time penalty to contend with. Tabo T92 versus King Rapture versus Ingawako, aka D-Wax. Is this tantalizing? Oh, someone has crashed out. It's Ingawako, aka D-Wax, on those aging medium compound tires. He's gone out, meaning Tabo T92 is now up to P5. Romeo Mandla is now up to P6. What a day could be for Mandla if he could keep it together and somehow also keep composure and make sure that he does not lose too much because of that time penalty that he still has to contend with. Drama towards the end here. Lots of crashes and spins as these guys struggle with grip and trying to manage those aging tire compounds. What can His Royal Highness King Rapture do here in his battle versus Loveness? Loveness is another driver who in past seasons has taken aging tires towards the end of races here. Even in wet conditions, Loveness is not afraid to go long on an aging compound of tires. Here comes the King Rapture. He's looking to get a little bit of an advantage now towards that rush, towards the right-handing turn 14. Here he comes. He thinks about going on the outside, but he's nowhere near close enough to get that move done. It's a switcheroo from King Rapture. Will they go wheel to wheel here? Oh, no, but Loveness has the inside line as the left-hander, and he still has that little bit of an advantage. It's a beautiful battle, a titanic tussle towards the end of proceedings out here in Singapore. The King Rapture is on his neck. He is on his tail. He's giving nothing away. Is King Rapture, and behind them come the onrushing Tabo T92, Mandla, and Mex, who has just overtaken Mandla. Meanwhile, DRS has been enabled towards the end of proceedings here. Tabo T92 versus King Rapture. It's going to be wheel-to-wheel, possibly into turn 1, but Loveness holds his own, using as much of his battery. Rapture takes a dive on the inside, but he's nowhere near close enough to overtake on those initial couple of corners. This is the penultimate lap, guys. It's last chance saloon, and Django has racked up a 3-second time penalty, so he will not be able to claim a race win. So it might yet be a battle, a battle of wits to see whether or not Seatley can keep his composure. Here comes the King Rapture on Loveness in towards the left-hander, and Loveness had to go wide. King Rapture squeezing in, putting those elbows out, and is now up to P3. But remember, the King Rapture still has those time penalties to contend with. 4 of the active drivers have those penalties to contend with as things currently stand. Loveness versus Mex, who has somehow managed to recover back to P5. Remember, he did have that incident which saw Mex tumbling all the way down this pack at the restart, despite running a fresh soft compound tire. Now, Tabo T92 has also not had the smoothest of races, has been battling his way all the way up and down the grid. It's going to be Mex on the inside of Loveness going into the right-hander. Tabo T92, fucking Pumolo, he's through! Tabo T92, P5, both of the cars overtaking the Haas, and it's a beautiful battle towards the end of proceedings over here. The King Rapture, Smirch Jangle, both have those time penalties to contend with, and it's a battle after battle, overtake after overtake towards the end of proceedings here. Smirch Jangle will be able to hang on to P2 because even with that time penalty, he still has a 4-second buffer between himself and the King Rapture, who's currently running in P3. Mex podium, well done to him. Oh, Tabo T92 has just overtaken Mex and gone into P4 into that left-hand turn, into turn 1 to begin the final lap. What a sensational couple of battles to conclude proceedings out here in Singapore. And Zotal, who has had a topsy-turvy race all the way from qualifying through to the final proceedings here, is now fighting versus his teammate. He will hope to overtake his teammate as Caboza claims the fastest lap, but he's all the way down to P11. That won't count. That won't be an extra point for Caboza because he's not in the top 10. Oh, and Gowacko, aka D-Wax, almost crashes into the back of Zotal over there. It's a beautiful battle towards the end of proceedings here. Let's get back with the top 2. Django has huffed and puffed, but could not overtake his teammate. Remember, he has that time penalty to contend with. Look at that Seakley with an absolutely monumental effort to still be in the lead of this race. with tires that will be 27 laps old by the time he crosses the line. A champion's drive, a sensational effort by the three-time defending champion. And a word as well for King Rapture. What a sensational recovery drive it's been for him. He's also had huge barriers to overcome. Remember, he had those incidents losing wings and having to fight his way down from the back of the pack. And as things stand, it's going to be a memorable finish. But here comes the champion across the line, hunted down, as has usually been the case by his teammate. But Sinclair shows his class, shows his pedigree, and shows why he is still the #1 driver in the top tier of Breakaway League Racing to win in Singapore. Sinclair will cross Django will cross the line in P2, and King Rapture gets the third and final podium place. His Royal Highness says, take a bow to the entire rest of the grid. It's a podium place for the Williams driver, Tabo T92. Beautiful day for him. It was a recovery drive. Who's your driver of the day? Remember, Tabo T92 crashed in the first lap and was at the back of the pack at some point. What a drive from him. I want to hear your driver of the day, Mex P4, Loveness Mex P5, Loveness P6, and Lebo 7, Zotal 8th. And man, oh man, oh man, what an absolutely nail-biting drive all the way through towards the end of proceedings here. There he is, Sinclair having that little tweak of his neck, that little shrug of the shoulders, and a skip towards the top step of the podium, showing up, lifting up that #1 sign, and he will lift that trophy and pump that fist as the man on the top step of the podium for another beautiful scrap between the top two drivers in the championship, and by some margin, the drivers to beat in the top tier of Breakaway League Racing. Now, Zotal finished 8th, D-Wax 9th, Mandla claims the final points, Kaboza 11th, Tepiso, the ghost of Tepiso 12th, Bankoli, of course, and everyone had crashed out. Sinclair is getting a couple of shouts for driver of the day. He was one of the first to join us in the commentary box. Take us through that race and that qualifying. You were absolutely sensational.
Yeah, I was hoping to give you guys a show in quali, and then I made a mistake. I was 2 tenths up, bro. I was gonna get a 136 something. I don't know what, but a 136 definitely. Yeah, and then the race, I was following Django behind. I was like, okay, hammer time. It's time, to close the gap, put pressure on him. And I don't know if I was just too close or I was just like too happy on the throttle, but I just lost it. I had to pit. What lap was that again? It was 4, right?
It was quite early. It was in the early stages.
Yeah. And yeah, since then, my race has been just incidents, other people being involved in incidents, safety cars helping me with my tires. I think if it weren't for those safety cars, I wouldn't have finished with those tires. I was already on 60 for my rear tires percentage.
Towards the end, when you cross the line.
Yeah.
Man. That was absolutely sensational. Of course, when we saw that earlier mistake, and when Django got the lead, we thought that it would have been so challenging for you to come up, but you just kept your head down and you kept on coming. Many shouts for you as a driver of the day because of the way that you managed those tires. That was absolutely sensational. Congratulations to the 3-time champion. And once again, hot on his heels, Django. Take us through #1, that quali lap. Of course, Sinclair could have just snatched it away at the end, but you managed to get pole position, Django, and take us through that race. You were overly eager on your overtake attempts. What was happening?
Hi, Mike, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, yes.
Great. Going into Q3, I think I used the wrong set of tires, and that's why there was a huge difference. And I couldn't put in a banker because that was just a scrap lap. So there was so much pressure on myself because I couldn't send it to the point where I could get into the 36, but I could have easily went into the 36. But that doesn't matter. Luckily, I got P1. I think Sikhles broke his wing or something. and he couldn't put in his final lap. And going into the race, he made a mistake. I think he was following quite closely, and the dirty air uh, made
Yeah.
him make a mistake. Yeah, so he spun, and everything was going perfectly fine until the safety cars, which were a nightmare, if you ask me. But because at one point on the restart, I think it was lap 15, uh, uh, I thought somebody hit me in the back, but I just saw now the footage. I think the game spun me or something. So,
Yeah, bro, you
uh,
just glitched, eh?
yeah, I don't know what
Mm.
happened there because I was going literally so slow, and yeah, I just spun for some weird reason. And then I needed to make overtakes, man, because in this track you can't sit long because the other guy who's in front is obviously making time, and if you sit behind someone who's slower, you lose like 2 seconds in a lap or three even. So I needed to make those overtakes quickly, and I think a few of them was too aggressive, but I needed to. But yeah, man, luckily, I got P2. Still a scrappy race, but I'll take it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely interesting there. And some of those overtakes I just want to ask you, Django, it looked overly aggressive there, some of those
Yeah.
overtake attempts, wheel to wheel into certain corners there. Was that just an eagerness to make sure that you were backfighting with Seaflay at the front?
Yeah, man. I mean, you need to channel your inner Max Verstappen at some point. So, unfortunately, I spun myself, and I'll take that. That was a mistake. But yeah, I needed to, man. That's why I got P2 because they also had to go pit and stuff. So, yeah.
Oh man. And a man making his first appearance on the podium this season for Team Williams had, of course, to challenge, had to battle a lost wing at some point, but he clawed his way onto the podium. King Rapture, congratulations! Take us through that.
No, thank you very much. And it was such a difficult race on my side. I mean, I think I started well and then broke my wing. I had to pit, and then after everything, there were so many safety cars, so many strategy decisions I had to make. But yeah, eventually to be able to make some crucial overtakes at some certain points, yeah, I managed to get a podium at last.
Man, what a beautiful drive. Take us through your race starts. Generally, you, Django, Mex, Caboza. Are you also on the controller? Because you also very you give nothing away on the race starts, and you put drivers under a lot of pressure.
Yes, I am on controller, so restart is something I practice and I try to take advantage of. And even today, I think I had a slightly better start than Maxi, but he managed to, put his elbows out quite well. And yeah, um, so yeah, I think being on controller definitely helps.
Man, it's been beautiful to watch your progress, and courtesy of this podium, we're going to see you climbing further and further up the field. And who knows, maybe in these upcoming races, we'll see you and the Malusi fighting as you usually do right at the front of the pack. I look forward to that. Seatley, I just want to ask you, in previous seasons, it's been pretty much smooth sailing for you. How does it feel this season to be pretty much not only the presence of Django, but it feels like just the levels that you set just kind of forces everyone to raise their game. Just take us through what it what it takes to just keep your composure and what it's like to be under the kind of pressure that you've been under this season.
The pressure has been the same in every season. I mean, there's still people like Melo, there's still, Brown Boy. They are gonna give Mercedes, myself and Django, a lot of trouble. And Rapture himself, he's here. Look,
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
a lot of people, man. Sorry for the ones I didn't mention. They know themselves.
yeah.
But yeah, it's never easy. Um, it depends by the track as well. The amount of practice and work you put in. Yeah, it's just always just putting your head down when it matters, doing what you got to do. If you make a mistake, uh, move forward. There's nothing else you can do, and just try to get the best results possible.
Man, can't wait to see what you guys have in store for us. Next up is Suzuka. King Rapture, it was beautiful to see you do your thing and come towards the podium. Django, once again, not going down without a fight. It's a beautiful scrap between the Mercedes pair, and we will be seeing you guys in I believe it is Japan. Yes, it's Japan next time out. Thank you for giving us a classic race. It's a pity that we had so many safety cars, but in between that, I'm pretty sure you will enjoy watching this one back. Thank you, guys. I will see you on Thursday. And before we go, let me just catch up with the final comments. Don Rabico says, let me go warm up Japan. Estelo says, let's get it done. Watch out for Estexa as well. He might yet be in Tier 1 come the new season. Don Rabico, of course, is eyeing exactly that for next season. There were a lot of shots for Seaflay for Driver of the Day. And as well as the King Rapture Driver of the Day. That was the 86er. Giving a shout out to King Rapture there. And yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys are going to enjoy it. Great recovery. Seaflay, well done, says Crash in the comments section. Thank you, everybody. It's been a beautiful top tier Breakaway League racing race. We will see you on Thursday in Suzuka, Japan. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.
Thank you, gents. Cheers.